Baseball Beat with Will Schneiderhan and Sorbellini. Play ball!
Oh, it feels so good to hear that. It's been a while since I played the Baseball Beat bumper on this podcast. Unfortunately, we're not talking about real baseball here. We're still in the quarantine period here, but some stuff has emerged in terms of some ideas baseball is floating around to do a 2020 season in some radical ways. So I decided to break down two of the newest ideas that have emerged with the Baseball Beat. First up, guy we heard from actually last week on the Jet Fan Forum, Will Schneiderhan. Will, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good. Also with us today, for the first time in the social distancing era of the podcast, Anthony Sorbellini. Anthony, how are you?
Doing good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. How is the quarantine life treating you?
It's going. I mean, I kind of pay attention to 3 days: yesterday, today, and then tomorrow. So, kind of have no idea really what's going on. Just trying to keep myself occupied and everything like that. Try to keep myself sane.
Yeah, I feel like my concept of time is like what show I watch on TV is on at night. That's when I know what day it is.
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much. I'm just kind of like, okay, what days am I doing? Am I working? What days am I not? Stuff like that.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit of baseball a little bit. We have some ideas that the league has been floating out the last couple of weeks. They've been leaked by a couple of reporters about their ideas to basically put the league in bubbles to try and get the season going. We'll start off with the one that came out first, like earlier this week, recording on Friday the 10th. ESPN's Jeff Passan reported that the one thought that the league is entertaining right now is they're going to put all 30 teams basically in a artificial bubble in Arizona and play the entire season in Arizona. Basically have used the 10 spring training complexes down there in Chase Field, put all teams there, basically play there. Anthony, I'll go to you first. What was your reaction when you first heard this plan?
Reaction was kind of, how are they going to pull it off? You know, I mean, 30 teams all basically using the same stadium. There's no like sense of kind of home field advantage, fans to say the least. But I mean, you know, looking into it more, I mean, the world, let alone just the country, is kind of at such a standstill that I think any form of sport would be great, you know, kind of break up the monotony of what am I going to be doing today, you know, because sports, I've always said, and I think you guys could definitely attest to it too, sports has a weird way of, you know, combining everybody I know. I mean, it's not going to make everything great, but I think it will definitely kind of be like, you know, bring the spirits up of everything going on right now.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, you just kind of nailed it on the head. I was actually thinking about it this morning. Like, I was thinking about how, like, people who, like, think sports are stupid, all the, you know, they just make all this money, what do they actually do? It's, like, astounding to me because, like, that small minority of the group of people who hate sports must, like, be looking at all their friends that love sports and think, like, you know, it's like we're some drug addiction, we're in some withdrawal, right? Like, we have no idea what to do. It's crazy, and you nailed it, like, how it brings everyone together. I think you're exactly right. And, yeah, I think it'd be like a nice distraction, but I'll be like completely honest, and I'm sure we're going to get into it here as we go on. But I don't know about this idea. The whole thing, like you just said with the fans, right? Like how, like Pete Alonso put out this tweet. Like I don't know if you guys saw it, like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't even know the days anymore. And he said like how he misses like, you know, Citi Field, not Shea. Citi Field rocking and stuff like that. Like that's like that's so much of the sport, you know what I mean? Like that fan part of it, like the eruption, the booing, all that stuff. And I mean, as far as like me wanting to watch baseball, yes, this would be a good idea, but I don't know, man. Part of it feels forced to me. I just kind of feel like it's almost like you said, like you're gonna have all these people in one, like all these teams, all the personnel. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a lot of moving parts.
I think it's kind of definitely a big long shot. I mean, they're entertaining the idea. I think that's just for the sheer fact of they want to kind of, you know, without getting too far into like political stuff, it's kind of, you know, boost the economy, do whatever they could do. But then again, you know, you're not going to have fans or any other type of staff, so you're not really going to be boosting anything. It's kind of just, you know, play just for the sake of playing. But I mean, I'm kind of on the fence of how, like, of course it's baseball, I'm going to watch it, but I mean, I'm on the fence about, like, is it going to be, like, kind of, like, worth it, you know? quote unquote, like kind of like breaking quarantine, so to speak, even though they're just basically being in a bubble in Arizona. But I mean, I've heard a couple guys saying, that they were like talking to, like whether it be on ESPN, if it's safe, everybody can stay healthy, like they're all for it. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of issues entertaining with this thing. I think you brought up a good point about, like, obviously this is an economy boost because baseball doesn't get their TV money if there's no games being played. So they at least get that, which helps players get paid. But, like, you also think in theory, like, like their idea is like, oh, like we can, maybe we have workers who work our state. We can give them different products. They're actually game content being produced as opposed to, we're sitting at home doing nothing right now because there's no sports going on. And, like, they, in theory, have the game best equipped to come back in social distancing periods because this is not direct physical contact. You're not having people in immediate proximity to each other. I mean, they're talking about some of these social distancing tactics that can be implemented in this proposal, which I've heard that, according to the articles I've read, that like some of the public health experts are actually encouraging. Basically, the ideas of like, having the umpire back up away from the plate more to call the strike zone, eliminating mound visits, having the players sit in the empty stand 6 feet apart so you can encourage social distancing. Maybe there's, this aspect of the games here. And they say, you know what, we have to embrace a new normal for a little bit until we have a proven treatment or a vaccine. Maybe baseball is the example here and say, you know what, we can live our lives, but we have to do it a little differently.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of just what I think, not even just the sports book, but kind of just the world in general. You have to find, like, the new norm. I remember hearing, like, I saw something on Twitter. It was like, we're going to remember, life pre-corona and then post-corona. So, but I mean, there's going to be so many just different things. I know there's been reports that they could even try implementing, robotic behind the plate calls, which I think is just absolutely ridiculous. Because I mean, not only just, yes, for the safety of the players, but if they're going to do this, I want to see it from a fan standpoint to where it's as close to baseball as we have now. I don't want to start implementing all these crazy rule changes. I still want it to be baseball, still want to be entertained, but I don't want it to, but at the same time, I don't want it to cost, players health, safety, other personnel, TV crews, whoever. So it's definitely still, it's a slippery slope to go on right now.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Like what you just said. I want it I want it to be baseball. I want it to resemble it as much as. And I know that's probably a lot to ask, but like to me, it's like if you can't get it to work, and I know it's a lot of money, you're going to miss out on if you don't get it to work this year. But like, yeah, I as far as like the game it goes, like all the social distancing stuff, yeah, that's obviously like, I'm not going to argue that. But the fact that like, yeah, what are we going to roll out the robotic arms? Going to do all this. 7 innings, doubleheader. It just feels like you're taking and chopping it in half too much. And I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who wins the World Series? Like, are we going to look back on it with all the ramifications? Like, if this is the only year you do this stuff, and then like next year it's back to like baseball, you know what I mean? Doesn't it kind of just feel like a weird year?
Well, I remember seeing a quote from Mariano Rivera saying like, I don't feel like. It was something along the lines of, it's not like a real World Series if you didn't play 162 games.
Yeah,
something along that line.
So it just feels very, and it's just like like the 7 innings. It feels bizarre, and I know we'll probably get into it as we go on here, but it doesn't feel like it would be like, I don't know. I don't feel like I would be like, oh, super into a Mets World Series if they won it like this. Like it just feels so strange. The field just feels weird, and again, it's a testament to the times. I think everything feels strange right now.
Right.
Yeah, everything does feel strange. Let's talk about a couple of those things that are interesting here. It's like Will brought up the idea of the 7-inning doubleheaders, and this is something that it's in round organized baseball. It's not in the major leagues. I mean, I've worked for an independent league team. They do this. They play 7-inning doubleheaders. The minor leagues now do 7-inning scheduled doubleheaders, and like the idea here is that like you're trying to cram these games in here. You're gonna obviously put a burden on these pitchers, and I think this is something I think could sustain going forward because like. A lot of the issues, like relief pitching, all the pitching changes. Like if you're playing 14 innings of baseball in a day instead of 18 on a doubleheader day, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, I definitely like. That's what I mean. Like, listen, if you go in and this is like what happens now, baseball becomes 7 innings. I mean, I don't know. I think that's a tough sell. I think it's a tough sell. I really do. Not even being like some like. That's just such a ramification. There's such a change. It's bizarre. I know it's only 2 innings, but
that's just
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's just for double. That's just double headers. That's not for like
Yeah,
every game.
no, I feel that. No, definitely. Even then, though, you know what? I just feel like this is weird, but I guess that's like a minor enough thing that would make sense, if for player safety too. You don't want them sitting out, all day playing baseball like that's long. But I don't know. It's just I'm just not into it. I don't know. I guess I'm just super into like what I grew up with, and it's just going to be weird to see any change to it. But of course, that's going to happen. That's just my personal preference.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's going to be some change to the game, especially because they're planning on doing this in May, and we're about 2.5 weeks into the opening of the season, so that's already like 10, 15 games or so lost. So
yeah,
we're going to have to see how they're going to change it. In terms of, kind of going with double headers, the only thing I'm worried, like, I agree with you, I don't want to, see the game change, like, how we grew up watching it. But I'm just concerned, for the players' point of view, a player's perspective is, they're out there for 14 innings a day, a minimum. And that's not even saying if the games go into extras. But, injuries have to start coming in your head for everything.
Yeah, it's just like I was thinking about that, too, because, like, doesn't it kind of feel like okay, we want to make the game shorter, but like, how many of those games are going to end at cap directly at something? You know what I mean? Like, you could,
right.
What if you go into extra innings? It could be long, and I guess that's just the game, and I get the idea of just narrowing it down as much, but I don't know. I just feel like it's so, it's like such it's only 2 innings, but it is such a difference, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like on records, on all that stuff. It's just so. It's so bizarre, and I don't know. I saw some people saying like they still want to get 100+ games in. Doesn't that just feel like
that's gonna be
nuts?
There's no way.
I just feel like that's insane. But then again, on the other side of it, like, listen, if they play an 80-game season, that's just not baseball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just such like a split. It's kind of like a lose-lose situation. I feel like with the people who are fans like us.
Right.
Yeah, let's talk about the roster size for a minute. It's another thing that they talk about is that the roster size has to expand because right now there's no plan for like a minor league season. Like, sort of like there's no minor league bubble because there's no point because those organizations are driven by gate revenue. If you can't have fans, there's no point running minor leagues. So, like, you have to bring more players into this bubble, sustain you. Like, if, say, you deal with an injury, guys to go on the injured list and you have to replace him. Like, how big are these rosters going to have to be to accommodate, like, a full season bubble?
Yeah, so what is it what was it? Wasn't it 30?
It was going to be 26 to start the season. Then it was going to go to 28 in September.
Yeah, and what was it when the roster call-ups that used to be that they got rid of?
40.
Yeah, so that was absurd. Yes, it's funny because it's just the pitching, don't you think? Like, teams are just gonna, especially if you have those double headers that frequently. I mean, the amount of pitching that you're gonna need in all those fresh arms, it's gonna be crazy. You know how many pitchers you could see in that span. And then the injuries, of course, to your position players are big. That you always have to plan for that. But I think it's just going to be for the pitchers in general. I mean, we see an asinine amount of pitching changes now. Imagine it's going to be like when you're playing double headers every week.
Yeah, I think the number, I could see them doing something like, like we're going to bring 50 players per team to Arizona, but like you have like, say 35 active on game day or something like that. Could be like a compromise they do. It's like, okay, like, this pitcher's inactive today. He can't pitch in this game. That could be a workaround you could do in theory.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I'm just thinking of, all the pitchers are going to need. Just look at the game in the last 5 to 6 years, how much it changed. You got your starters only going like 5 innings. Now, if you implement, 7 innings double headers, you're going to have your starters going what? 2 to 3 innings? I mean, that's not even baseball to me. It's like, like you said, constantly just going to constantly changing pitchers and everything. It's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just like, and the fact that like so many teams kind of run that like 6-man now, or like you're kind of manipulating your rotation to where you're like DeGrom's getting an extra day here or there. So again, it's going to be. It just feels like a push, and I know, like, hey, that's tough. That's life. These guys got paid a lot to do it, so maybe if you compromise for a year, it's not the end of the world. But it just does feel like there's a lot of risk when you involved with like $100 million investment.
Right. And I mean, just another thing that I kind of just randomly thought of too is what does that mean for like record books? Like
Yeah,
Is a perfect game is a no hitter? Is it gonna technically count because you only went 7 innings?
Yeah, no, that's kind of where I'm at. Where like whoever wins MVP, whoever wins Cy Young, whoever wins World Series. I mean, you're a fan of that player, that team. You're going to be defending it till the day you die because people are going to be shut. It's just it's one of those things. I was looking at it last night because I was looking at Mike Trout's WAR. And it's wild to think like what happens now if they don't even play or he's playing less innings. Like he could have went and broken that record, but now it's just and that's just life. That's just how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's gonna be weird if you're kind of doing it. Because think of it too, like if you're playing that many games and all those double headers, like are you going to be playing Mike Trout back to back in a double header? Are you going to be playing Pete Alonso, Aaron Judge? These guys back to back in double headers, you're basically taking a game a week and taking your best players out of the lineup. And then what if you have like a day game the next day or something vicious like that? Or then it's a lot of wear and tear on these guys for sure, especially the position players. And how many catchers are you going to run with too? Because you cannot do that with 2 to 3. There's no way.
You're going to need like 3 to 4.
Yeah, so that's kind of like where. I feel like if you're a fan of a team like the Angels or, the Yankees where, you're missing your best player for 2 to 3 games a week. If that comes like, that's insane. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. I think in terms of the argument about the logistics, about the legitimacy of like the records and all that, I will say like we've had strange seasons in baseball before. It's just, I think, given the situation, I think now we'll complain about it. Be like, if we actually get baseball, no one's going to care. No one's going to look back in 10 years and say, oh, that was the Corona year. That doesn't mean anything. Because we had 1981, we had a split season where, like, the Cincinnati Reds are the best player in baseball. They make the playoffs because of the system. The Dodgers won the World Series that year over the Yankees. No one's saying that their championship's illegitimate.
Yeah, it's just new. You know how everybody is now.
Yeah,
that's my thing. The sports climate now is so toxic and stuff like that. That's just my thing. Like it's going to be like insane.
Yeah.
But hey, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, if we get there. I mean, at this point, it is worth knowing that this is a contingency plan. I mean, the dream that these teams still have, that they're able to play in their own ballparks, the longer this goes, the less likely it seems. But like, this is like something worth discussing because like this might be the only way you get baseball this year. But I want to talk about here, like, what do each of you guys think is the biggest issue with this Arizona bubble plan?
I just the idea that everyone is there. I don't know. It just feels like a cluster, doesn't it? I just feel like it's just like a lot going on in one place and like a lot that can go wrong. And
it's gonna feel like a giant like high school state tournament.
Yeah,
what it's gonna feel like.
Right? Yeah, like those weekend tournaments. Yeah, the not playing with the fans is just, I don't know. To me, that's a big part of it. And I know you cannot do anything about that, but that's just like, it's weird. And like you said, you kind of nailed it. It's going to feel like one of those high school baseball tournaments. And I don't know. To me, I'm not into that. It's just bizarre to me that everybody's going to be down there. Like, I feel like you're not going to be getting the training, all the necessities that you need for a full season. It just, and I'm sure there are like implemented things within this plan where you guys get bullpens, guys get treatment and stuff, but doesn't it kind of feel like these baseball players are going into like a time machine back into their minor league days? Like that's where it's going to feel like. Except of course when they get paid, it's not their minor league wages.
That's not going to be a minor.
But that's just my thing. I just feel like it's a lot going on in one place.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that completely, like 100%. There's so many logistics that they have to get right that I don't think they're even kind of like in the right realm to like kind of go about it right now. Just the things that they're proposing, there's too many logistical questions, like, how many catchers are we going to carry? How big are we going to open up the rosters to? There's just so much, the tiny little details that you have to think about. And then, of course, everything that you just mentioned before without even echoing, you just, high school state high school tournament, you got thousands of people, thousands of major league players and everything, and the staff and everything. It seems just one giant cluster.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Yeah, it's a lot of moving parts in my opinion, the idea that they're going to be they got to be away from their families for a while too, and so on. Like I don't know, like because didn't players already do the agreement where like they'll get a percentage of their salary if it is, or if it's not played, they just get the percentage of their salary in the year of service time. Like I don't know if I'm a player, do I? Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to.
Yeah, to clarify on that, the agreement that the players and the owners reach basically that the owners advance 4% of the total salaries, and so basically it's based on like tiers of experience. Like the most experienced player get $150,000 for the year if there's no baseball played, but they do get the year of service time. So like in theory, if there's no baseball season, Mookie Betts could be a free agent ever playing a game for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I actually, not to go down a rabbit hole, but isn't that fascinating? Like that would honestly be. Like, do you think the Red Sox or the Dodgers get some sort of like compensation or something? Like that is hilarious. Not hilarious. I mean, I got kind of hilarious, but yeah, that to me though, like the players are obviously not like they covered their end there. I am super surprised that they would be willing to kind of. I know they want to play, but doesn't it feel like if I am Aaron Judge and I'm on the DL often. Why do I want to go out there and do that and risk it like that? Like that is pushing your body a lot, in my opinion. And if he was, and like there's a long list of injury prone guys, and specifically pitchers. Like I just feel like you're kind of going to leapfrog the off days and stuff like that, and it's just going to be kind of like a ticking time bomb, for lack of a better term, where it's like it's just a matter of time. We see it in baseball already. People get, an onslaught of injuries. This just feels like it's kind of like playing into that.
Yeah, one thing I think we haven't brought up yet, I think is very interesting here, that people don't realize, is that these teams are being played in Arizona, and there's no domes on any stadium except for Chase Field. It gets to 110, 115 degrees, and they're in the day in the summer. How are you playing baseball safely in those conditions?
No, you nailed it, too, dude. I mean, doesn't that just further plays into it, right? Like that these guys, I mean, that is so much wear. I'm not trying to be dramatic. There's a lot of wear and tear on your body, a lot. And like you said, like those are hot, like dry hot days too. I mean, that's a lot. Especially again, right back to it, to your pitchers, to your relief pitchers, to your starting pitchers. That's where I feel like you're going to see such a decline almost in the brand you're watching, right? Like it's like is Garrett Cole going to be out there throwing BBs in 115? And I know he played in Houston, but they had their retractable roof,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, again, there's just so many logistics there. I don't think they're addressing this. I think it's a great idea in theory, but with all the moving parts that are just going on, I see it as an absolute long shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go ahead to another model just emerged today. It came out today from Bob Nightingale of USA Today. And apparently, instead of doing one bubble, the league is considering doing two bubbles, one in Florida, one in Arizona, around the spring training complexes. Basically, this idea is that for 1 year only, we split the league into the Grapefruit League and the Cactus League, and you make up new divisions based on where these teams play in Florida.
Yeah.
Like for example, the Met division in that scenario would be the Nationals, the Astros, the Cardinals, and the Marlins. According to the schedule they came up with, you basically play 108 games. You play 12 games against your division and 6 games against the rest of your Cactus League or Grapefruit League. You do a universal DH for the year so that teams, because there's not obviously an even American League, National League split. They're talking about you have 26 parks in this plan, and you have 3 dome stadiums in Chase Field, Marlins Park, and the Trop down in Tampa Bay. And I think this plan is a more realistic logistics plan because again, you have a lot of these players have like home like these teams are going to their own facilities. The players have usually like houses or places they stay near those. So that takes care of the lodging issue. Like I feel like this is more realistic, but still has its own problems.
Yeah, logistically, this is like that's it. To me, this is the only one you actually really consider because of that logistic. But I mean, honestly, we just talked about overlooking seasons and stuff like that, dude. There's no way the Yankees. Did you see the Yankees division? They might win 130 games if they play that.
It's just what we were echoing before. We want baseball to be as close to what baseball is. We don't want a whole new, completely.
No, that's ridiculous. Crazy, dude. Like you are altering your off season based on what happens in your division. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, here's the Mets. Oh, you thought you had to worry about the Nationals and the Phillies? Oh, well, guess what? Here's the Houston Astros, who literally just won a World Series 2 years ago, and here's the Nationals who just won the World Series. Like, I just feel like that's crazy, and I know like it's the only way you can do it, but isn't that nuts? To me, that's not it. Like I will remember in 10 years if that's the case. You know what I mean? Like if my kid's like, oh, what happened to the Mets that year where they lost 90 games? I'll be like, oh yeah, that's when this happened, and they had to readjust and realign the divisions, and we played the Nationals and Astros all the time. It's just that's crazy because seriously, the Yankees. I'm not even kidding. I think it was like the Pirates and another really terrible team were in that.
Detroit's in there.
Yeah, dude, they wouldn't. That's it. They like what? They might win or they might lose 3 games to them. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah, you're arguing against this plan if you're looking at division-wise is the Cactus League Northwest Division, which is Milwaukee, San Diego, Seattle, Texas, and Kansas City. One of those teams would be a playoff team. I mean, come on.
That's what that's tough. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm trying to be as fair as I can and open-minded to it, but that's a lot to ask, man. That is a lot to ask. Like, wow. Especially like the Indians. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, and the Twins. Like, okay, let's build because, let's not maybe have to go spend an extra dollar on this pitcher in free agency because we have such a top-heavy division. And then, boom, it's crazy. That's a lot. That's a lot. Especially, everybody has made their off-season plans. They're good to go. We're ready to go. And then all of a sudden, here you go, Mets.
Yeah, I think in terms of competitiveness, I think this was definitely one you look at and put an asterisk next to whoever wins in this scenario because you'd be like, this is not the usual division. This is not the usual practice. Like, I feel like they would also, there's rumors going on that this would be like an expanded postseason where you would have more wild cards. I think you would have to do something like that for competitive fairness because you would look at teams like you said, the Mets, who did not plan to be a division with both World Series teams and the Cardinals.
Yeah, and the Cardinals, that's the other team I forgot. I mean, the Cardinals could damn well win the National League Central. Yeah, like, those are 3. You're looking at, 3 potentially 90-plus win teams. I mean, that is not – and you're robbing one of those teams, you just said with the other division, one of those teams are going to play off. One of these teams is not, and they built to contend. It's that. I know, like, back in the old days, you had that a lot where, 90-win teams wouldn't make the playoffs, but oof.
Yeah, it would be interesting. So I'm going to end with this. I'll throw both of you this way. If the only way we get baseball in 2020 is one of these options, would you want it?
I would go with if I had to, I'd go with the first one. Albeit, I just kind of
the Arizona
ran
plan
through. Yeah, how I ran through the logistics wouldn't work. But I mean, that's going to resemble baseball the most. The second one, I just can't get behind that at all. Not even because I'm a Mets fan and I want to see them win. Seriously, taking that bias out of it, I think it's crazy. Like that, those divisions are. I know you got to work with what you got, but that's a lot of changing to me.
I think that Florida plan will. I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. I'd rather have Arizona as opposed to if any of those. But I think just in terms of like the Florida proponents changing, Cactus in the Grapefruit League, I think that's just ultimately gonna because the divisions are so crazy. I think that's ultimately going to be that's not going to bring in any new fans. It would start kind of being I don't want to watch this team win like every single game. I mean, yeah, it could be entertaining, but part of the allure of baseball is that pretty much every year there's a new World Series champion, especially come September, any team could be in it. It's just whoever gets hot. So that's the allure of baseball. Where if you throw a team that's like the Yankees, like the Astros, and they're throwing them into like these sub 500 teams, it's not. It's nothing.
It just kind of feels like you're hijacking one team's ability to contend, and then you're like gift wrapping. Again, not because I really don't have an issue with the Yankees. I truly don't. But then you're kind of gift wrapping that to them, where it's I agree.
100%. Yeah.
Like the Yankees were going to run away with the AL East probably with like a good Red Sox team, a decent Blue Jays team, and so on. And then it's like, again, boom, here you go, 40 wins, gift wrap. That's just my issue with it. And again, I'm trying not to sound biased. I mean, there might be other teams that had divisions like that, but that's the one that really, really stuck out to me because I was like, oh my God, they might not lose.
Yeah, it is worth noting that was just one proposal I had because in theory, I think that one was based more on geography in terms of like where it's easier to get the travel to. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, you look at the Florida proposal, you could put the entire National League East and American League East together, but then you sort of have a mishmash of the other division. I think of like Minnesota, St. Louis. I think I'm trying to look who else in that group here. Detroit, Pittsburgh, and I believe the fifth one in that group is. I can't remember who it is, but like, Houston will be the fifth. Like that would be the mishmash division. Like you could have two complete divisions. Then the third one's a disaster.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's not bad until you put Houston in on the end of it. Yeah, that's kind of unfair. I mean, but hey, maybe that's their punishment. I don't know. Good luck. But yeah, it would be either way. You dice it up. There's going to have to be a compromise. So if I had to compromise, though, like I said, it would be the Arizona one.
All right, there we have it. The baseball beat. Talking about these crazy theories to try and get some baseball in our lives that the league's considering. I want to give you guys a chance to plug your social media with some of the stuff you're up to. Will, how about you first?
Oh, yeah. Follow me on Twitter at Will Schneider H1 and some NFL content coming out, especially since the virtual draft is upon us. So, yeah, just give me a follow there.
Anthony, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, just keeping busy with NBA, stuff like that. Photography is kind of, unfortunately, on a hold right now until sports start and everything. But, yeah, check me out on Instagram at Sorbellini Photos and then on Twitter at ant_Sorbellini. All
right, there you have it. Thanks, guys, for coming on. I really appreciate it. All right, up next, we'll go on to the legal side of these things. Look at some of the more logistical, legal, financial hurdles on this with our legal correspondent, Phil Frietta, right after this.